Newman City Council Redevelopment Agency regular meeting of March 9, 2010 order. Welcome. Please join me in the pledge. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads and remain standing. Lord, we thank you for bringing us all here tonight for the good of the city. Please give us the wisdom and to make the proper decisions for the city of Newman and all the residents of this community. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly. Davis.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Katie.
Present. Item 5, declaration of conflicts of interest. And we don't see any. We'll go to item 6, ceremonial matters. I don't think we have any this evening. Item 7 is item from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now is the time to do it. Please step to the podium. State your name and address, please.
Maritza Meza, 1537 Oak Canyon Drive, here in Newman. My question or concern was about the law of the boats being on property. We have a parked boat that is registered under the state and everything, and we got a violation ticket for having it parked on our driveway. When we got the ticket issued to us, it wasn't like nobody knocked at our door. So my dad speaks Spanish, and when we received it, he thought it was like a lawn service thing, and he threw it away. So we never got one, and then we got the actual ticket. Somebody knocked at our door and gave us a ticket. But what can we do about it? Because we're paying everything. We paid our registration tax on that boat. We have nowhere else to park it, and there's nowhere we can park it in our backyard.
Michael, you want to address this, or? Excuse me, one quick. If anybody else has the same problem as Mel mentioned, just listen up, and we're going to address it.
Okay. So this probably started 30 to 45 days ago. Our code enforcement officer went around and tagged all the boats that were illegally parked in town. Now, what the way the current city code reads is you have to store a boat either inside your garage or behind a 6-foot fence for permanent storage. If it's in current use, there are some temporary standards that apply for a 72-hour law. If you're getting it prepared to move it out, if you've been boating recently, and those types of things. But there's some temporary storage that is allowed that goes along with usage. But long-term storage has to be either in a designated facility off-site. If you're going to do it on-site, it needs to be in the garage or behind a 6-foot fence in the rear or side yard. My understanding is, and the chief's not here, but there were several mini boats that were out. They were all tagged. We received probably compliance of about 90%. We went back for that last 10%, and out of those, we probably got another 50%. And then we probably issued about 15 to 20 citations for people who never ended up moving those boats. But that's the way the current code reads. If the council desires, it would ultimately take a ordinance amendment to change that. And this goes back probably a decade. I'd have to refer to my planning staff on this, but a lot of it is long-term aesthetics and maintenance of the neighborhoods and to eliminate clutter. There are a lot of responsible boat owners out there, and these may be examples of some of these responsible boat owners who actually cover their boats and use them. But again, the ordinance is designed to prevent clutter and long-term storage of recreational vehicles, wrecked cars, and the like in there.
As I understand, the ordinance has been in place for many years, but as well, warnings were issued prior. Is that what it was? And we
warnings were issued, in fact, and then when we didn't get original compliance, we went back a second time and got further compliance, and then ultimately, probably, I'm assuming, my understanding is about 15 to 20 citations were issued. Do you know, Sergeant, if that's about the number?
I believe so.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes.
I know that you guys say that everybody got a ticket or got issued. I know half on our block didn't get a ticket.
Right.
And why would it be fair that, or why would it, to my personal feelings, why is it that only certain of us have to pay that fine and the other half have not even got a warning or a citation on it? And
I cannot confirm what you're saying, but our code enforcement officer went out. My understanding is that the other people complied by either moving them behind a fence or putting them in their garage, which is the legal storage of a boat or recreational vehicle or trailer in a residential area. If they did that, they did not get a ticket.
I got a copy of the ordinance here. It says if you have no way to park it,
Mel, we need you so everybody
Yeah.
can hear. I need you to come up, if you want to come up to the podium and, okay. Okay, so I think the last part of your question was, why you got it and why nobody else did.
no, not that why nobody else did, because I know some people
Okay.
did, but like, I know on our block, because we went around and spoke to our neighbors that had boats parked outside. Half of them are still parked out there, and they still have not received a citation or anything, got notified of it to be moved. And like certain side of this side of our block got it. So why should only this side pay a citation, not this side? And then plus, what are we supposed to do with it? I mean, we pay our registrations and we have nowhere else to park it. So what are we going to do with the boat?
Well, I think part, and I know what the rationale behind it is, there are storage facilities in town that allow you to store motorhomes, boats, cars.
But that's money extra that, I mean,
I understand, and I think that's why the police department tries to gain compliance. Granted, we're probably not going to catch everybody at the same time. I could only guess that our code enforcement officer maybe didn't get that half. It's probably going to get the other half next. I don't know. Sergeant Richard might be able to better address and answer it. It's literally impossible to catch to find every vehicle, but it's not to say that the process hasn't started. I don't know.
I know you guys have another thing that where cars cannot be parked for no longer, and I understand that law. And like, okay, we're being cited for our vehicle not being able, our boat not being able to be on property. But there's cars that I know you guys have a lot too that have to be moved and have to be registered. On my block, there has been one that has not moved at least for 10 years that I've known, that I lived there for 10 years. And has not been moved yet, and it's still there. That's, to me, that's another thing. Why on something that's getting paid registration and it's being kept up, it's moved in and out, we use it. Why do we have to face those consequences?
Are you referring to the vehicle or the boat now?
Well, I mean, it's because it's something that you would think it's because it's not being moved that we're getting cited, and it just looks like a junk or something. But there's cars that actually do look like junk parked in the front, and our boat keeps on being moved in and out, and it's kept up into maintenance and doesn't look bad in our house. I mean, that's one of my understandings when I talk to the chief of police. That's most likely is because it's not being moved, or it's not kept up with maintenance, and cars are, and it's not like that.
Well, it's like the city manager said, the idea of the ordinance is to try to enhance and try to improve our neighborhoods where there's not, cars, boats, and everything parked out in front of homes and in yards and in driveways without being moved. So that ordinance, I know, was enacted many years ago. And I don't know how to address it other than to say if the police department came around with a code enforcement officer and issued warnings and or spoke to people to try to get compliance, and for those who didn't comply, the only result that the officer has left to do, according to the job description, is then eventually issue a citation. Obviously, I would prefer to try to get compliance first, and I'm fairly confident that's what they tried to do. So in your case, I understand the citation may have gotten thrown away or just disregarded. I don't know what you said your father did with it.
He thought it was like, because it was, I guess the way he said it was, or one of our neighbors told us, a red thing. Well, my dad remembers throwing in a red thing, and it was in English, it wasn't even
Okay.
Spanish, and he thought it was like a lawn service thing that they hang on the door, so he just threw it away. So we really didn't know about it until our officer took us the actual citation.
So he threw the warning away. Any council comment?
Michael,
Mayor,
I have a
just-
question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It seems to me that this ordinance has been on the books for quite a while,
Yes.
but it has not been enforced. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, I don't know if it's, I could say that would be an accurate statement because we have a new code enforcement officer, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it has not been enforced consistently, maybe
Yeah,
is the key word.
that concerns me, and it concerns me that we did have a code enforcement officer.
Well, we've had a code enforcement officer for about 2.5 years now. Now, this was a citywide endeavor who, she worked really hard to try to consistently apply this all across the city at one particular point in time. You know, there are many functions of a CSO, animal control, and a lot of other issues that go along with it. So, you know,
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying, here we've had an ordinance, and it hasn't been enforced, and all of a sudden,
Right.
we are enforcing.
but the other thing was, we didn't go out and write 300 tickets.
No,
We went out and
but
put out warnings,
No,
make everybody aware of the situation. If staff's position has always been, if you're fair enough to educate and give the warning,
Yeah.
then you can come back the next time, and you've given ample notice that this is an ordinance that this should be passed. That's been our position.
Yeah, my concern is being consistent across the board.
Sure.
And I'm hearing some of your statements tonight that we're not. And I think it's important that the way that code enforcement applies the law, it's applied to everyone, it's not just applied to a few.
And we agree 100%. Now, unfortunately, we only have one that does the whole town with many other functions. The other thing, I should let the council know, there is an appeal process, and everybody is advised of the appeal process. They can set up an appeal of any administrative citation they have received. That's part of the process to go ahead and appeal that if they feel that they were either wrongly cited or they were in compliance with the code that they were cited. They have a process to appeal that citation.
I don't think anyone's saying, the law's on the book, the ordinance on the book, and it's quite obvious they're not compliant. My whole concern is the way that it's come down to them, that we haven't applied it, now we are, and of course, and I understand what they're saying, they're concerned, and I know there's not much we can do, but it bothers me when the law's not complied consistently across the board to everyone.
Well, again, in this particular case, council, I truly believe that the CSO tried to apply it uniformly across. I understand for the past time that this was not on the books. It was probably, or it was applied inconsistently.
Well,
But at this point forward, we're trying to apply it consistently across the board and moving it forward. I guess my position would be, we gotta start somewhere. So, listen, we serve at the direction of the council. However you would like us to deal with this situation, we're more than willing to enact that as a policy.
I'm fine, Michael. I just know for a fact that there's been things out there that have not been taken care of, and it bothers me. And in fact, I brought it to the attention of the police chief and everyone else. This has been going on for a long time, and it's not taken care of. So I'm concerned that it's not being applied fairly.
Sergeant Richardson, I don't want to put you on the spot. Could I ask you to step aside and I just want to ask you real quick, and you may or may not know the answer. Does our CSO, does she have a matrix, or that she follows as far as, she hits a certain neighborhood a certain day and then she goes back and hits it again? Does she track that? Is there a way of tracking her movement?
I could not answer that
Okay.
at this point.
Okay, I didn't know if you could or not. And I for lack of better terms, I don't think it's a matter of fairly. I don't want to use that word. I have more of an issue with consistency. I think that it's handled fairly, but I've always had a problem with the consistent, even when I was doing it a long time ago. Because it seemed to come to a head when there was a complaint, and then we'd go out and we'd hit it really hard for a while. And then we'd kind of slack off and we'd go back and hit it again, so.
Well, I know for a fact that I've turned in this one vehicle. It was a motorhome. And it sat there for months and months and months. And what he would do, he would move it from one spot to another spot. And in the spirit of the law, that is not the thing they should be doing. He wasn't cited. He kept doing it. Vehicle stayed there for months, 6 months. And that bothers me, when somebody can move a vehicle like that, and they think it's okay. And maybe they can, I don't know, but.
Well, by the letter, by the ordinance where it's written, they can.
Well-
They can move it every 10 days or whatever the ordinance
Yeah,
is.
but move it from one side of the street to the other side.
Bob, I understand completely,
that's
but,
wrong.
but that's the ordinance. It says it has to be moved. I don't think we put in there that you have to move it. You have to go out and drive it 10 miles and
Well,
bring it back.
I
I understand what you're saying.
I
But
think the ordinance said 72 hours.
Yeah, right.
In one spot.
yeah, it's one spot.
Well,
Yeah.
come on, guys, we have to be fair about this. I mean, you can't move it from one side of the street to the other side and for 6 months.
Well,
Anyway,
I'll.
that's my concern.
Yeah. Well, anybody else have any comments?
Well, I think that
Legally, you can move it from one side of the street to the other for
Right.
6 months,
Right.
is my understanding. I wouldn't like it, but it's not illegal.
Yeah. Nick.
Well, I think when you talk about the consistency of the CSO, we haven't had a consistent CSO either. I mean, we had one, then we didn't have one, then now we have one again, so that has, you have to take that into consideration too, so.
Okay.
Mayor, I know there are more people in the audience
Yeah.
that would like to speak.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy. Please come up, state your name and address. And understand, it's a non-agenda item, so it's not an item that we can take action on tonight. We can hear what you have to say and then maybe talk with staff okay.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Addington, 1220 Duckline. I actually have a different situation than most of the boat owners. I don't have my boat in my driveway. I have my boat in a concrete side yard. And I'm being cited for my boat in the driveway. And it's not actually a driveway. And so the problem that I'm facing is I'm being told I need to put a fence around my boat. So now they're telling me they want me to extend my fence from my backyard 20 feet down to the street around my boat back up to the house. Now, which is a bigger eyesore, my boat out, and I have pictures of it. I'll let you guys look at it. It's maintained, it's used quite a bit. Or a giant fence that extends all the way the length of my driveway and hangs out into the street. I need to find out what needs to be done to change the ordinance if possible.
Okay. Back down. Okay, Jeremy, we'll hear what everybody has to say, and then again, this is a non-agenda item, so obviously no action is going to be taken this evening.
No, I
regarding
understand
this.
that, but my concern is I don't fall into the normal code. I'm a different case than everybody altogether. So.
Well, I think it may kind of fall into the same thing because the boat is actually in front of the residence, even though you've.
Well, it comes down to CF 51730R, which is, it says the side yard must be fenced, but in the original CF, it says that boats can be parked in side yards, but it doesn't say anything about fencing in the side yard. But then you go to another area of the code, and it says that it has to be fenced with a 6-foot fence around the whole thing. It cannot be visible from the street. So, I mean, to me, you're talking about eyesores and things like that. And I mean, I don't have a problem. I can build a fence around it if you guys want me to, but I think it's going to look a lot worse having a big giant fence sticking out to the street than my boat sitting up in a nice concrete area next to the side of my house. And I just want to know what needs to be done to try to change the ordinance. Do I need to get signatures? Do I need to what's the best way to go about it?
Comment?
I guess one question just in dealing with this gentleman right here. Do you have a corner lot or an interior lot?
I have just a straight lot. It's on the straight street.
So you're not on a corner?
No.
Okay, so in this particular case, I think what he's referring to is lots of times people will extend their driveway sideways and put some concrete pad down. That's probably sounds like what this gentleman is
It is. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, but that's still
Yeah.
that still constitutes a front yard. Anything in front of the house is a front yard, not a side yard. A side yard is from your
Well,
house
if you read
to
the
side.
definition of a side yard, it says anything from your property line to the first edge of your house, from the edge of your house to the street. My boat is behind those lines, so it constitutes a side yard.
I guess the point I was trying to say, you can't put a 6-foot fence in front of your house.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
So what am I supposed to do with my boat?
Once everyone speaks, the council, I'll give them direction on what you're asking. I think what I'm hearing you ask is, how can the ordinance be changed?
Yeah.
You want to know how that. So if
Yeah.
you'll indulge us and let everyone else speak,
Yeah, no problem.
and then I'll speak with the council and we'll give direction and let you guys. I'll
Okay.
tell them how that has to happen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
If there's cement out from the side of your garage out to the street, why can't you put it through the fence? Why can't you make a gate in the fence and push the boat
Because
back
the
there?
boat is too wide. My property line angles like this
Okay,
in the
good.
back, so I can't put it through the back. Otherwise, I would put it in the backyard.
That makes sense. Just want to know.
No problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Mel Souza, 1447 T Street. I got a warning and a citation. And I've had this for long. The boat's been there for 10 years, and this is a copy of the ordinance. And it says, if you have no way to park it on either side of your house, and it can't park in the back because you guys are building the park in my backyard now, so I'm stuck. Okay? And I went around, I got some pictures, some eyesores. I even talked to one lady, she got the red thing, but she chewed off the officers, and she didn't get no citations. And I got some pictures of eyesores if you want to see eyesores. You guys take a look. First ones are these boats, and the rest of them are eyesores. And I get a lot more than that. And there was only 14 citations given out, and I can pick out 40 or 50 citations if I wanted to. The lady that chased everybody off has a big trailer. My boat's been there for 10 years. No problems with the neighbors or nothing.
Anything else, man?
That's it.
Okay. Anybody else wish to address the council? Okay. I might maybe suggest, I don't know what the council's feeling is, if we want maybe to have staff revisit this ordinance, take a look at it. A couple of reasons. Do we want to see, close any loopholes, or if there's anything that's that sticks out? It's been brought to the council previously for approval. We can take a look at it if that's your pleasure, if you think there should be some changes made, and or leave it as is. And if your suggestion is, if your thought process is that we want to have staff take a look at it, I would then maybe suggest that maybe we could have the police department hold those citations, possibly, until this council decides if they want staff to revisit the ordinance, take a look at whatever your pleasure is.
I would concur with that. I think we should hold off. I'm not opposed to the ordinance. I think the ordinance is a good ordinance. And I think unfairly, it hasn't been administrated to the general public. I think we've had these things out there for a long time and they haven't been taken care of. And all of a sudden we do it.
Well, and the other thing I think is important if we're going to have ordinances in place and we're going to ask our police department, and we hired a community service officer to perform this duty, and we knew when we did that was probably going to create some problems because the person is going to go out and enforce ordinances that haven't been enforced for many years. So as a result, it's going to get the blood pressure up on a lot of people. And I don't particularly have a problem with the ordinance, because I certainly wouldn't, want my neighborhood to be full of junk cars, boats, and so forth and so on. I'm not opposed to people having them. I just ask them, to keep my neighborhood looking good. The only problem I would have is with the consistency part of it. And I know it's tough because we hear it all the time, well, so-and-so got a ticket, and how come Joe got it and Jane didn't, type of thing. And when I know the fact of the matter is the person can't be everywhere at the same time. You can't possibly write warnings to everybody. Our town is not the small little town of 2,100 people anymore. We're over 10,000. Our town is, almost 3 square miles. So there's a lot to cover. So she has a lot, her job is not just community services, code enforcement. She's also doing the animal control and everything, so her day is split up. So, so the part of me, I think we need to have an ordinance just so, we can control what our community looks like. But I would ask, that we get compliance, and it seems to me that she has done that. She's gone out and attempted service, warn people, please move your vehicle, move your boat, do this, do that. And some have complied and some have not. And so with those who have not, then there might be a little issue, because they've been received warning. They're doing the right thing by coming to this council, and the problem is when you have one person who's gotten a citation and or a warning, then he shows you a book of 30 others who haven't. But I understand how that works as well. So I guess this council needs to decide, do you want staff to revisit the ordinance, to take a look at it?
Yeah, I would like that.
Okay.
But also, it really concerns me about when a person has an RV and they can move it. That there's something wrong with the ordinance when they're allowed to do that.
Well, again, if we tighten the ordinance up and say you cannot have an RV parked on
I
residential
think they
street.
should be able, I think 72 hours is correct. 72 hours has always been allowed. But when you take your RV and move it across the street and pick up another 72 hours, I don't think the law was designed, the code wasn't designed that way. I think it wasn't never intended to be that.
Yeah, well, I'm not real sure how, Bob, how, if the ordinance says you can have it in residential area for 72 hours, then you want to say that that's the end of it after 72 hours, then you cannot have it back in your neighborhood anymore?
No, I'm not saying that, but there should be something in there that prevents a person from moving it across the street. It becomes an eyesore for that person that lives in that area.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I agree with that.
I agree.
And what I'm saying, so if you move it across the street, that's not right.
I guess the next question would be posed to you, where do you expect them to move it?
Storage.
Well, I tell you what,
Well, see,
I
that's the issue, yeah.
I have an RV. You know where it's at? It's in storage.
Yeah.
And it costs me $100 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people don't go across the street, they can move it
Okay.
a few feet.
Okay.
Like a shotgun.
Okay, hold on. I understand what you're saying, but we also have to take into consideration there may well be people out there that don't have the extra $100 a month to pay. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to
Well, the reason it's out there is because of the ordinance. Mine's out there because of the ordinance.
Okay, so is it consensus then you want staff to revisit this ordinance along with the police chief, and do you want to tighten it up? You want to loosen it up? What's the direction?
I think we need consistency across the board. Whatever we do, we have to be consistent.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm not sure how we can do that. Only because I know that the person cannot. Maybe over a period of time you can eventually get everybody. That's why I was asking if there was a system, if she had a system in place, a matrix of, okay, this month I covered, Oak Canyon Street, and next week I covered T Street, and the following week I covered. There has to be some kind of systematic way, I guess, of check and balance, but knowing full well that the person can't get to everybody, over a short period of time. It can be accomplished over a long period of time, I guess. So. So do you also want to, Sergeant Richard, are these administrative citations that are,
There, yes.
okay, so we can hold those before,
We could.
or do you want to just go through the appeal process? Those have been issued, let them go through the appeal process and meet with the chief, or do you want the department to hold those until decisions made?
Pleasure of the council, whatever they want.
That's what I'm asking for consensus. I don't have a problem if we can have the police department hold those
Yeah.
citations.
I believe we should do that. Hold
if-
them until it's reviewed.
Yes, sir.
My only concern with that would be, I guess, for those that were issued citation that are not here tonight, to ask for this amendment or that have actually paid the citation, what would we do?
They
For those
some have already come in and taken care of it?
I can't say for sure, but I believe they
Yeah,
have.
probably have. Refund? Do you have any idea how many,
I
Randy?
do not.
Okay. That's why they
Mayor.
pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
Mayor, just
Sir.
so I can address the
Okay.
one resident on
Okay.
Duck Line Circle. His question revolved around how does an ordinance amendment take place? Okay, now an ordinance amendment can take place two ways. It can either be initiated by the council, and that's some of the conversation that they're having right now by sending staff, or it can be initiated by the residents. If it's initiated by the residents, there's an application fee that's called an ordinance amendment. Somebody can file that application and pay that fee, and then it gets scheduled in front of the council accordingly. And then what we would do is take the language that whoever the applicant is, they would propose some language, and then we would submit that through the planning commission and ultimately through the city council on that.
And my other question is like we were talking about, I don't fall into the category of a boat in the driveway. I mean, it's still in my front yard, yes, but it's in my side yard. And you're saying I can't fence it in, so I'm in a situation where I can't put a fence around it. But at the same time, your ordinance is telling me it's okay to stick my boat there.
I think if you'd like to come down and either talk to myself or our planner over here, Stephanie Ocaso, I think we might be able to clean up some of that definition for you and see if there.
Definition right here.
Okay. May I suggest, I think the consensus of the council is that we're gonna have the police department hold these administrative citations for right now. We will talk with staff. We'll have staff try to come up with some solutions. So we'll try to answer your question, everybody else's question. I think it's clear that some council members have some issues with, the consistency part of the ordinance, and I think we'll try to deal with that. But in the meantime, hold pat, don't go all in yet, and we'll try to study this and try to. I don't promise we're going to come up with a solution that's going to make everybody happy. I don't know yet, but I think it's worth taking a look at, and I think the council agrees that we'll revisit it. So you're kind of in a holding pattern. We'll try to address your issue as well as all the other issues. Okay?
How long before you revisit all these issues?
Man, I don't know. We don't meet again for a couple more weeks, and
Mayor,
so,
how about we bring some information for you for further direction on the first meeting in April?
how's that?
It's
First
not-
thing in
it's
April.
not a- we won't.
Okay.
We're gonna just bring them options at that point in time,
Okay.
and then they can give staff direction based upon those options. So
Okay.
you basically get a 30-day reprieve,
First meeting in April,
which is April 13th.
April 30th. Okay.
So if you decide and come back on April 13th, we'll provide some options to them. If any of you would like to write your name back on that back list, maybe our CSO and our police department will contact you. Maybe you can have some ideas on what you think would work, keeping in consideration of not only what you're trying to achieve as a property owner and your property of the boat and this long-term storage, but also your neighborhood as well. And maybe you guys can be creative and help us solve this problem by coming up with creative solutions. I think that's a good way to probably approaching this right now. So any of you who would like our staff to contact you, if you'll write your name where the pen is over there, we'll make sure that they contact you. If you have any ideas, then maybe there's ideas that you have that we haven't thought of, and that might be a good way to start the process.
Oh, I know.
Okay, council, is it your desire also that we have our CSO stand down a little bit, or is continue issuing the warnings? How do you want to, because obviously she still has a job to do. How about we have her continue, at least try to gain compliance. I think the whole idea of ordinances is pretty clear. We want, we like to keep our neighborhoods clear and clean of, abandoned vehicles and things like that.
I was told that she was only targeting boats.
That's not true.
She was told, and I talked with the police chief, and he told me the same thing, that they were only targeting boats. 'Cause I asked about
Okay, Sergeant Richardson, I'll just have her stand down for right now till we come up with some ideas. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wish to address council on this issue? Well, I think it's clear. We're going to revisit and take a look at it. Okay? All right. Thank you. Okay. Move to item 8, consent calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Step up.
I know you guys got a little involved in that. Pat Davis, I represent Harmon Financial for Marquez and Kaya over there. And I know Michael's been working with the bondholder on that to try to get the notice of completions and everything over there. And I'm just wondering.
The notice of completion has been accepted by the council. They have, the bond has been reduced, and they provided us a new bond, and there's a maintenance bond in place. So from your perspective, those improvements are complete that serve your.
So we can tell potential buyers now
That's
that,
correct.
that the NOC and it's all complied with. And
That's correct.
if they buy them and can finish them up, they
We can provide services to those lots that have units out there. This gentleman represents the houses that were constructed in Monte Vista off between Fig and Hardin at the end there. Unfortunately, based upon us not accepting those improvements until recently, he couldn't get services to there because we didn't have services to them. We've now accepted those improvements, which is what he's asking, and now you're
we have
able
a
to.
list of potential buyers that will buy them as is, complete them, and move in and start paying taxes and
That's good.
cleaning up the neighborhood.
That's a
and
good
that kind
thing.
of stuff.
Pat,
So-
that notice of completion has been sent to the county. I would anticipate it's probably going to be recorded anytime,
Okay, that's good news.
if not already.
Okay.
All right. You're welcome. Anybody else wish to address the council on non-agenda item? Okay. Now we'll move to item 8, consent calendar. Item A is waive all readings of ordinances and resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of the minutes of the February 23, 2010 regular meeting. D, adopt resolution number 2010 next in number, a resolution approving the automatic annual inflation adjustment for capital facility and impact fees for the period of March 1, 2010 through February 28, 2011. Item E, adopt resolution 2010 next in number, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman approving the expansion of the Stanislaus County Enterprise Zone boundaries. Council direction?
Make a motion, we approve the consent calendar as is.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 is public hearings. We have none this evening. Go to 10, regular business. A is report on proposed CDBG projects for fiscal year 2010-2011. Stephanie.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you is the proposed fiscal year 2010-2011 CDBG project list. In 2005, the city joined the Stanislaus County CDBG Consortium. Being a member of the consortia provides the city with an annual allotment of CDBG funds. The proposed list before you will utilize the city's 10-11 allocation and any rollover amounts that we may have. Staff anticipates an allocation in the amount of $200,000. It's usually in that range. Staff recommends either the following: that the council review and approve the proposed list, or that the council review and amend the proposed project list. Should the council wish to amend the list, we can continue the item to the next council meeting. I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Stephanie? Council direction, again, under the, either the approval or the amendment as read.
So moved.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Stephanie?
To clarify, you approved the list?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. As presented.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to item B, is approval of the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan fiscal year 2010-2011 and open 30-day public comment period.
Good evening again. Before you is the draft annual action plan for fiscal year 10-11. An excerpted copy of that plan is before you. Every year, the annual action plan is developed to aid the consortia in achieving CDBG goals. The plan outlines goals and policies for utilizing CDBG funds. In fiscal year 10-11, the consortia expects to receive approximately $2.49 million in CDBG funds, $1.12 million in home funds, and about $109,000 in ESG funds. To receive these funds, the consortia and all member cities must prepare and adopt an annual action plan. This year, in addition to the usual annual action plan, the consortia is proposing to amend the Neighborhood Stabilization Plan, Annual Action Plan, and the fiscal year 2007-2012 Consolidated Plan. These amendments will allow NSP funds to be utilized for down payment assistance programs countywide. It will allow the county to serve as the lead agency for the home consortia as opposed to Turlock, who is currently the lead agency, and will also assist in the consortia in compliance with HUD regulations. Staff recommends that the council release the draft annual action plan for the required 30-day comment period, set the public hearing for April 13th, and consider approval of the above-mentioned amendments. I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Stephanie on this item? Not council direction?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I so move for approval of the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan for the year 10 through 11, and open 30 days public comment period.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Go to item C. Adopt resolution number 2010, next in number, resolution accepting the proposed contract changes and authorizing the city manager to renew a contract with Burleigh Disposal Incorporated for solid waste collection and curbside recycling services.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, what we have before you is a renewal of a contract with Burleigh Disposal Incorporated. Back in November of this last year, we started what was a Proposition 218 process to evaluate and to raise our solid waste and curbside recycling fees. On February 9th, the council held a protest hearing and certified that less than 50% protests were received, and went ahead and moved forward and raised the rates for our garbage disposal and curbside recycling. To follow up on that, the contract that we have with our existing contractor, Burleigh Disposal, is due for a renewal. So what we have before you today is an 8-year contract renewal. Burleigh has been very good in terms of providing excellent service to us, to our residents. They also have, as you know, they have our 2-week periods where we have spring cleanup and fall cleanup. Those are very good for us. They also have curbside brush pickup from November through March. So if you have some tree clippings, you can stack those in front of your yard, and Burleigh will come and pick those up. Part of the renewed contract, which was worked out between us, after a 2-year period, if both parties are continued to be satisfied with the contract, we're proposing that it get an automatic 2-year renewal. That's something that the contractor has asked for because it helps with his bonding and his insurance. In the future, there will be automatic rate adjustments every 2 years instead of every year. We'll have 80% of the increase will be based on CPI increase or decrease, and 20% will be based upon tipping fees. And then that'll be every other year. So every even year, we're in 2010, the next rate increase will be 2012. So that way we don't get all out of whack again in terms of having to do a large increase because the rates haven't increased for a decade. There's an automatic in there. The contractor has agreed to increase the franchise fee, which is paid to the city as the contractor. The contractor has also agreed to pay the city a street sweeping fee, which is, the city has agreed to extend the period for which the contractor has to supply financial statements to us from 90 days to 150 days. The contractor has a number of contracts with different cities throughout the county. By the time he gets all his books and papers to his accountant, it just takes more than 90 days for him to get those audited reports to us. As you know, ours take about 6 months. He's asking for up to 5 months on that. I don't consider that a big request. And then there's just some minor cleanup language that, again, has no impact on the residents. So with that, we are asking that the council receive this contract and authorize the city manager to renew the contract for an 8-year period with Burleigh Disposal Incorporated. And I know the contractor is here and he can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Council, have any questions of the city manager and or the contractor? Okay, if not, bring it back to council for direction.
I'll make a motion, a resolution accepting the proposed contract changes and authorize city manager to renew contract with Burleigh Disposal for solid waste collection and curbside recycling services.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, item D is adopt resolution 2010, next number, resolution awarding the bid for the Howard B. Hill parking lot construction project to Perma-Green Hydro Seeding Incorporated in the amount of $93,719.85.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. There is a revised agenda staff report for you. There was some updated budget numbers in there, but I'll walk you through this staff report. The item for you tonight is to consider awarding a contract for the Howard B. Hill parking lot. Howard B. Hill parking lot. That's a tough one. Construction project to Perma-Green Hydro Seeding Incorporated for $140,759.85. The first phase of Howard B. Hill parking lot is nearing completion with the anticipated completion around the end of March. The first phase consisted of some site improvements, installation of some of the sidewalks, some storm drainage, play equipment, irrigation systems, and the grass and the trees. This part of the project is the second phase, which would include an installation of 2 parking lots, one on Fresno Street and one on Merced Street. We also included an option, if council so chooses, to install a 7-foot masonry wall or a 6-foot masonry wall along the eastern property line between the residences and the park. City advertised for bids and received a total of 14 for this project. Perma-Green Hydro Seeding was determined to be the low responsible bidder with a base bid just for the parking lots and the sidewalks of $93,719.85. Included with those was an option for the 6-foot masonry wall at $43,120 and a 7-foot wall at $47,040. Included with the staff report is the bid tabulation for your review. A little bit of background: in 2009, City Council was notified, or the city was notified that we received a grant in the amount of $300,000 with a local match of $128,571, which came from the park facility fee, for a total for this project of $428,571 for Howard B. Hill Park. However, prior to beginning construction, the city was notified that the grant was put on hold for whatever reasons that the state had to due to their budget. Therefore, on February 10th, 2009, staff came back to brought this item to council for direction. And at that time, council elected to authorize the use of $200,000 from our park facility fund to get this project moving forward. Thank you, sir. So up here you can see, I'm going to kind of walk you through the budget that we have. We did get the RZH grant for $300,000, the city match of $128,000 for the $428,571. That was a total funding, not including the $200,000 that you had authorized in February 10th of 2009. Okay. Okay, I apologize. The expenditures to date, including design, some of the grant requirements and construction, were at $341,154.82, leaving approximately $87,416.18 remaining in the fund with the grant and the local match. The base bid, as I mentioned earlier, was $93,719, which would require an additional $6,302.82 from the park facility fund to do just the base part of it. If we add in either the 6-foot masonry wall, we're looking at a requirement of $49,422.82 from the park facility fees to fund that part, or if we go with the 7-foot wall, we're looking at $53,342.82. And down below, you can see that, depending on which one we go with, we have a remaining fund balance there of $22,000 or $18,000. Staff has reviewed this, and it's our recommendation that we proceed forward with the 7-foot wall option. So therefore, we recommend this council adopt the resolution awarding the contractor for Howard B. Hill parking lot project to Hydro Seeding Incorporated for the base bid of $93,917.85 and include with that the block wall for a total project cost of $140,759.85. And if the council has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I got one question. I would like to see the 7-foot wall because you built a mound, and now everybody can sit on that mound and look at my backyard and my house. If that mound wasn't there, it wouldn't be too bad. You stand on that mound and look right at my backyard and my house. So I want 7 foot from one. You know?
Because I live behind the park and it's the mountain and see all behind the park.
Okay. Any questions of Garner?
I hope I explained the funding correctly.
Yeah, I
to
think you did.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think you did.
If we're short money, we'll come and looking for you.
Okay, council direction.
I so move that we award the bid for the City of Newman Howard B. Hill Park parking lot construction project to Perma Green Hydro Seeding, Inc. For the amount of $140,759.85.
To include the 7-foot wall.
The 7-foot wall was recommended by the
That was our
staff,
recommendation.
and I go with the 7-foot
All
wall.
right. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Garner.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may just interject at this point.
You may.
Subsequent to the staff report being done, and at the end of the day today, we made some calls to the state. The city has $220,000 in what is called per capita park facility money. This project, this additional $53,000 that we're spending is eligible to use some of that per capita money. So if council so desires, we can work with the state right now. Instead of taking money out of our park facility fees, use our per capita money. That money has to be used by 2011 anyways. And then what we would do with the remaining $170,000, our idea is to run that through the Parks and Rec Commission for some recommendations on upgrades to our existing park system, and then forward that recommendation on to the council for the remaining $165,000 or $170,000. Does that sound acceptable to the council as a way to appropriately use
Sounds good.
that fund?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we'll work, the Public Works Department and the Planning and Administration will work with our Recreation Department and our Parks and Rec Commission to start identifying some projects, enhancements that we could do to our existing parks for which right now there just are not funds available. Barrington Park is a good example. You know, we still have sand out there and some antiquated equipment. If you have any ideas on any parks that you're familiar with that could use some upgrades, please let us know and we'll add those to the list. We won't be able to fund them all, but at least we can put together a master list and start, writing in some numbers there about what it would cost to get that done, and then bring a list forward to the council. And we'll probably bring a list that exceeds the amount of money that we have, but it'll at least give you some options on what to choose and how best to use that $170,000.
Great. Thank you.
But I had one question.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a timeline as far as when the second phase would be completed?
We put, I believe it was 60 working days into the contract. So our anticipation is that we have to wait until the first phase is completed. They haven't hydro-seeded the park yet. We're waiting for about 2 weeks of dry time. We can get in there and do the soil amendments to the park, get the grass seeded in there and get their trees put in. And then we're gonna get the two contractors together, the one that's finishing up and the new contractor together,
Okay.
to figure out so we can start that back to back.
Okay.
And then we can get in there and get the grading going. So I would hope that we could finish this sometime in May.
Okay.
I wanna get it ready for summertime.
Because actually with first phase even being completed, you can't use that till you complete the second phase, correct?
They can use the park and the play apparatus.
Can you?
Yes, they can do that. There's some sidewalks that were put in coming off the
Okay.
Merced side. But we have some play apparatus that's been put in, and a shade structure, I believe, is
I didn't
going
know
in
your
as well.
plans, but that, okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
they'll be
you.
able to use that. And my goal is that they'll be able to use that also during the construction of this project.
Okay. very
I don't
good.
want to stop that.
Also, just to dovetail, since we're at this juncture and this particular project, this is part of your CDBG list that we have this year. So shortly, I mean, you're going to complete the park, and then we're going to do the parking lots and the wall, and then you're going to probably start rolling into sidewalks along the perimeter of this as well. So this park site's going to really start taking shape here. By the end of the summer, those sidewalks should probably be completely installed. The 7-foot wall will be installed. We're also looking at putting landscaping along that wall, and I don't know if it's going to cling onto the wall itself or if there's going to be landscaping in front of the wall to keep graffiti down on this new 7-foot wall. It's an open canvas.
Ivy keeps graffiti down too.
Yeah, Ivy's a little tricky, but there are other climbing vines
Yes.
that are very good at that. You also mentioned to me in the past eucalyptus that you see along Crow's Landing Drive. There's some potential for putting some of that up there as well. Those kind of bushy ones.
Well,
So
you know, to help the residents, you know, if we put some type of landscaping back there that, be it tall trees or that they're gonna eventually be pretty good size, we're gonna give them a lot more privacy.
right. And you know there is a wall of trees along that side as well.
Okay.
So we hope to include a lot of landscaping along that edge. One, to help the residents, and two, to eliminate or at least reduce the potential for graffiti along that wall. So
We also included an anti-graffiti coating in the wall as well to help out part of it. But I think, like the city manager was talking about, some of this is going to have to come through some landscaping ideas to prevent that big canvas.
Okay.
I'm allergic to it.
Okay, we'll go to item E, is adopt resolution 2010 next to number, a resolution establishing a pre-qualification procedure and an appeals procedure for use in the bidding process for construction of the City of Newman Historic Downtown Plaza project.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. As you stated, the item before you tonight is to consider adopting a resolution establishing a pre-qualification procedure for the historic Newman Downtown Plaza project. The project's been envisioned for quite some time, as most of us are aware, but I have in my staff report for at least the last 10 years. And we're now getting to the part where we're getting ready to advertise and move into construction phase. And some discussions with a lot of the local engineering firms and contractors, it's really a highly competitive time right now. And that works in our favor, especially when it comes to the pricing. But also, we have to be careful that we don't get a bidder in here that may be somebody that's not experienced enough that we give us the product that we're after.
Right.
So what we're doing here is we're trying to ensure that we can get the qualified contractors in. So during the bidding phase is what we're recommending is we will pre-qualify contractors at that time. So that's why there's a big, long bidding phase. We're opening the bidding phase it's March 17th. And then I think it's May 6th is what the construction schedule shows, is that we will open bids at that time. In there's going to be a window which we will do this pre-qualification procedure. And in the pre-qualification procedure, there's also an appeals procedure. So the Public Contracting Code permits the cities to pre-qualify contractors who wish to bid on these projects, and staff has developed a uniform system for rating these bidders. We included in here, and included with your attachment, is the pre-qualification questionnaire for the bidders for your reference, project experience for your interview questions and procedures for your review. There's a uniform rating system and procedures we put together, and a pre-qualifications and appeals procedure. All of these are as per the Public Contracting Code, and the Department of Industrial Relations has also developed these standards to support this process. It's our goal is that we can do this to ensure that we get a qualified contractor that has experience in this kind of a project, so that we can ensure that it's built to our standard. Therefore, staff recommends that council adopt a resolution establishing a pre-qualification procedure and appeals procedure for use in the bidding process for construction of the historic Downtown Plaza project. Now, this resolution would be only for this particular project. It wouldn't be for all contract projects at this time. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Gardner, a question in regards to local contractors. Are they giving any consideration as far as bidding on these projects? I mean,
There is a 1% preference that is for the city of Newman in the code already that we do adhere to. But there's also, we recognize that City of Newman may not have somebody directly in the city that is there, but we do consider Turlock some of the region as well. It is our hope that some of these contractors will utilize some of our local contractors. There is a lot of trades in this project.
I like the pre-qualification procedure. And I think you're right. I think it absolutely, for this project, we don't want just any Joe Blow come in there and then hit us up with a bunch of change orders and things like that. But I'm just curious, would it be out of the norm if to use this type of procedure for all of our projects?
It would not be out of the norm. We could adopt something like that. We moved quickly on this one because our bid date is coming up real quickly. So we moved forward with just this project at this time. And if council desires, and I would agree with you that we could do this for certain dollar value projects and higher, it would be in our best interest to adopt a pre-qualification procedure, and I'd be happy to do that for you.
Yeah, I like that idea. Just because it does preclude helps us, protect our investment pretty much.
Certainly.
So
I'll take care of that for you.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, council direction.
I move that we adopt resolution 2010, next number, a resolution establishing a pre-qualification and procedure, an appeals procedure for use in bidding process for construction of the City of Newman Historic Downtown Plaza.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Gardner. Item F is report on resolutions consenting to the joint public hearing and authorizing transmittal of certain redevelopment documents.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know who gets to read these resolutions and motions, but they're long ones today. Basically, I'm going to sum it up real quick for you. As you know, we've been undergoing an amendment to our redevelopment plan because our cap is low. The change in dollar values is $30 million, and we're looking at raising that. We still have a lot of projects on the docket, and we could use the additional funding for that. As part of the process, there are a couple of things that need to happen. One is we need to have a joint the city council needs to have a public hearing, and the redevelopment agency needs to have a public hearing. And we serve as both, and we do our meetings as both, but we need to pass a resolution by both agencies to formally commit to doing that, and then we need to publish that notice a number of times based upon California law. So at this time, we're recommending that the joint hearing be held at our first meeting in May, which would be May 11th. In addition to that, we are also asking that and part of the planning process requires that the planning commission review the amendment documents ahead of time and prior to us. So we're asking you as part of this adoption and these resolutions is to transmit those documents and the environmental documents that go along with that. Anytime we do a large project like this, environmental documentation is required. It's called the California Environmental Quality Act. Most of you are probably familiar with the terms either of mitigated negative declaration or environmental impact report. Those are consistent with documents within the California Environmental Quality Act, as the planners call it, CEQA. This amendment is defined as a project by CEQA, so therefore we have to do that documentation. I believe we have a mitigated negative declaration to go with that. Or either that or it's going to be a straight neg deck. I don't recall right offhand. So with that, we're asking you to adopt the two attached resolutions that set motion for adoption of the RDA plan amendment. You're going to see a number of these as we start occurring. I think it goes to Planning Commission this month. We'll come back in May and hit you again with the joint public hearing, and then subsequent to that, there'll be adoption process that occurs. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions of Michael? There's no questions. Council direction.
I'll make a motion we adopt the report on resolution consenting to the joint public hearing and authorizing transmittal of certain redevelopment documents.
I second that motion.
So the motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Moving
Mayor,
right
we
along.
had two resolutions. We had an RDA resolution and both. I don't know if you covered them under both, Nick.
Did I?
Yeah, can we just for further clarification, can we say adoption of motion, the resolution as worded under F1 of the agenda, and then maybe do another motion and adoption of the resolution as worded under F2 of the agenda? Does that work?
put them together as one and two.
Okay, we're just putting together
But
as one,
then
two.
that gets to your point of covering both.
Okay, maybe.
I thought I heard it, but let's
Okay,
be sure. But let's be
just
sure.
for
Okay.
legal reasons,
Yes,
maybe we can just adoption
I
of
don't know
the
whether
two
it's-
resolutions under F1 and F2
Who put this together?
are well-paid consultants.
Nick, we'd like to amend your motion.
That's fine, 1 and 2,
To include F1 and 2.
that's fine with me.
Bob would like to amend
Yeah,
your second.
I'll amend my second.
Okay. And you want to amend the vote as still being 4-0 and approval? Okay. Thank you. All right, now we'll move to item 11. Items from District 5, Stanislaus County Supervisor Jim D. Martini.
Good evening, Mayor Kate and council members. I don't have very much for you tonight. We've been mostly concentrating on our own budget problems, and you probably have yours. I would say in the Healthcare Task Force, our next meeting is scheduled for April 29th in Gustine. So we're rotating back from Gustine, going down Highway 33 till we wind up in Patterson again, and we just go over again. On February 18th, the task force had its first breakfast for Healthy Choices campaign. This one was primarily about workplace safety. It was put together and paid for by Keystone Corporation in Patterson. And it was just the next logical step in the healthcare task force, where we looked at Healthy Choices campaign, losing weight, quitting smoking, eating better. And with the education we've done in the schools and the calendar we've done, the next logical step really was workplace safety, because that's what the businesses are really interested in, is not only a healthy workforce, but one that works safely too. So it was a real good meeting. We had a professional speak to us about workplace safety. I know Mayor Caton spoke to the group, and so did Mayor Campo. So anyway, that's what we've done. So we are continuing to do stuff all the time, and we will meet again in Gustine, April 29th. I really can't report much on the Oresteba flood control project. I know you had a meeting in Newman, but I didn't find out about it until the day of the meeting, and so
Sorry, Jim, we can't take care of you and our own staff. You got your own high-paid staff.
well, that's my staff told me there's a meeting today in Newman, and if I knew about it, I could have, of course, come, but I just couldn't at that late date. The only thing I can say on that, it is important that a flood control district get formed so we can continue on with the process, because we're so far along now with probably $6 million that's been spent through what Congressman Cardoza has given us, plus what the county's put in, and the work that the Water Resources Board has done, and the Corps of Engineers. So we do have a tentative project, and we have almost for sure the funding of the biggest part of it. But we do need a local match, and the formation of the flood control district would be important to get started on now, although there's no money a little bit that's needed now to kind of get the ball going, but the formation of the district is really important to that go forward.
Yeah, the meeting that we had was pretty much called the local stakeholders, the flood control district, Garner, myself, Michael, Matt, and David, and pretty much, laid it out. We still need to have the non-federal sponsor, and the flood control district needs to be expanded, and we have not had a chance yet, Michael, Garner, and myself, to talk and discuss how maybe some of these options might be had. But from the flood control district people that were in attendance at the meeting, I think Matt made it pretty clear, that a flood control district needs to be expanded and
Right, because it's outside of town right now.
Right.
It needs to be moved
Right.
into, the majority
So-
of Newman.
And the fact that, there probably should have been some movement already in terms of the flood control district being expanded and I'm not real sure where they are yet. I don't think. I don't know, Garner, if you felt any different. Michael,
Well, I think, Mayor, I think there's a lot of dialogue that still needs to take place interiorly, and I think to maybe recap what my understanding is, the Corps still needs another $400,000 to complete this feasibility study. They're not quite done yet, Jim. They still need more money.
Oh, I know, but they won't finish until we run out of money to give them, so.
So with that, there's a local match of $200,000 out of that $400,000. I know the county has graciously agreed. I think they have about 50. The rest are looking to the locals. When I say locals, the flood control district in the city, for about $150,000 worth of value of study. My understanding is we can probably get that $150,000 worth of study done for about 50 to 60. But, and this is something we're going to bring back before you. We don't really have a funding source. You're going to be taking it out of your general fund reserves in order to complete that. So this is a dialogue we're going to probably be having in the next 2 weeks or in the next 30 days. And I understand that there is a desire to expand the flood control district. I would be very cautious as city manager to move that forward at this time, Jim. And the reason I bring that up is we don't have a feasibility report yet. And so a lot of what we have to do is, there's a lot of property owners that would be affected by this, and you're trying to go out to formulate a district. There's a Prop 218 process, and what are our potential, you have to start identifying to the residents and to the members of that potential district, what are your potential costs now and in the future. The Corps hasn't even finalized what they think the feasibility is. Now they're trying to move the levee off 60 feet, 100 feet off of the canal. They do that, that's a big block for the property owners and the farmers because that becomes wasted land. There's a lot of questions out there. Notwithstanding the need to do, as the supervisor said, and that's to formulate a district, I just think there's some unanswered questions that we as a local community need to answer before we formulate that district. But notwithstanding that, our supervisor has done an excellent job, as so has our congressman, of continuing to keep this project forward. So with that, we'll probably be coming to you either in the next 2 weeks or 30 days with a proposal for funding some of those improvements. And what it is we got to go out and do soil borings in 22 different places, and in our mind, it's probably not something that needs to be done today. It's probably more of a pre-construction type issue, but the Corps won't let the feasibility study done. I can almost guarantee you after this $400,000, they'll probably want another $400,000. I mean, Jim's been through this process a long time. They continually ask for more studies, don't they, Jim?
They do. This one surprised us because we didn't think they were going to ask for that. I do think that we're on the home stretch as far as the project goes. We really do have a project that everyone is okay with. And I don't mean just the city of Newman's okay with. I mean the Nature Conservatory, the Fish and Wildlife, the Fish and Game, and these are the ones that can really throw a monkey wrench into the project and just stall it forever. They're okay with the direction we're going, but we need to keep going.
Well, one of the important issues here is we have to make sure that we meet the WARDA too. That's a critical timeline for us.
Meet the what?
The WARDA through at the congressional level, as far as the timeline, as far as the funding cycle. Because if we miss the funding cycle this time, they were saying it could be 2, 3, 4 years maybe down the road before it comes around again. And if we miss this funding cycle, then all it does, I guess, give us more time to wait and plan and study and, before the federal funding cycle comes back around.
Yeah, we hope we can make it in this cycle.
Yeah.
We're really close compared to where we were even a year ago.
Well, we are, and I think even Garner said, he's kind of taken back by the amount of boring samples that they required. I thought it was somewhat unusual, because I think Garner figured out it was like $20-some thousand a hole or whatever it was. Yeah, at their cost. So we might be able to do maybe some in-kind stuff, might be able to bring that cost down a little bit, so.
Yeah, we've priced it out, so we're probably going to just, for full disclosure, we'll probably as staff do an RFP right when I go out to full for bids, and then bring it back to you because we're under a real tight deadline on that.
Yes, we are.
And then in the meantime, that'll give staff time to figure out how to fund it. I mean, there's always that issue, and we have to work with the Forest Nimba Flood Control District. I mean, they got to be a partner in this, and it's a long project. And again, I want to thank the supervisor. He's really kept this thing moving forward. And we're going to get to the feasibility study, and that part's going to be done. And then there's really some important funding issues that have to take place locally. We at some point in time though, we have to get not only the residents here but the landowners that surround our community to agree that they support this project, because ultimately we're going to have to sell bonds through that district, and those property owners are going to be responsible for the bond. So that's no easy task.
Well, the big thing is just before we get to the point where we take this thing public, so to speak, is we still need to do a lot of work and a lot of education, because you have to bring a product to the public that they understand what the ramifications are if we don't proceed. So as well as what the plus part of it comes along. So. But anyway, Jim, again, and I agree with Michael, you've done a great job keeping the ball rolling. We appreciate, your hard work. And Matt and David have been, excellent to work with, and they've been keeping pushing.
The county has always been committed to getting this project started. And it's just been a hard
Well, I think
process.
the core is obviously, they're committed, but again, they just, money, and we all understand it's not free, but it seems like we've spent a lot of money studying, so.
Oh, we studied things that, we studied frogs and sycamore trees and groundwater, and we studied things that, for nothing.
Yeah.
Doing alternatives that, the project's changed. But we do have, I think, a project that can get the federal funding now. We just need to just kind of keep doing it here in the local level.
Yeah.
And the county would be happy to participate in town hall meetings, about this project, letting the public know the process that we're in, what the project's going to look like, and I think that they need to do that, need to be informed, and we can do that most any time, because we have some hydrology studies and some maps, and we can really show the public just really where we're at right now.
Well, I think the comment was made, one time, perfect time to hold these meetings and vote would be when we're underwater, I guess.
Well, I think the rainy season's over now. But when you do have another meeting in Newman, if you could let me know a couple of days ahead of time, that would be, I'd be here for sure, but I just
Hey, Mike,
wasn't
can you put him
able
on
to.
our
He's on the distribution list now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We had you on another list, and make sure you're on this list.
Because I'll be here, but
Yeah.
I need to, 2-3 days ahead of time
Yeah.
would be nice.
Okay, Jim, appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you. All right.
Mayor, if I may
Sir.
just ask the supervisor a question. Today on your agenda, item 4B was to set a hearing date for your PFF. Can you talk about whether or not that passed and what that date is? I think it originated as March 30th.
I believe it's I believe it is March 30th. It's going over the public facilities fees. There's some changes have been made in it, especially in highway usage. Past proposals had Zone A and Zone B, and that's been eliminated now. There's been some changes that have been proposed for warehouses, especially, and it's kind of everything. It's quite a few changes. None of them are real big, though, but the public hearing was set today. But we didn't discuss it. We just set the public hearing.
Would Mayor, I'm sorry, Supervisor, would you anticipate an action that day, an approval and acceptance of those public facility fees? If you, as a member of the board, and I don't know, you're going to cast
I
your
think
vote
so,
either way.
because we haven't really. I think we've solved a lot of the problems. We had some not the builders, but the industrial group Beard Industrial Track, and that commercial developers that have been in to see us a few times, I think that we've probably worked out everyone's concerns. I would expect that it would probably be passed at that meeting, but there is no certainty with government when you have, I mean, the public facility fees book is an inch thick, and it covers many aspects of development and fees for libraries and roads and jails and sheriff's department and everything, and the congestion mitigation fees, so it is fairly complex. Although there's only been just a few items that have really been of concern to anybody.
Well, I bring that up, Council, because as your city manager and members of your staff here, we do have some concerns with them. Many of you may or may not know, we collect the county's public facility fees on their behalf. So not only on top of ours, we collect theirs. Some of our concern right now is that puts us at an economic disadvantage towards attracting commercial and industrial growth into our community. If you had to go and decide whether you wanted to pay one set of impact fees or two, most developers are going to elect to pick one. So that means we would be at an economic disadvantage because in unincorporated areas they would only have to pay one. And this is this shouldn't be any surprise to the council. We've discussed, or to the supervisor, we've discussed this with the staff. There's also another major issue, and I think not only from our community, from all the communities, I think, but specifically from ours. And at our next meeting, I'm going to have to ask you to recommend that we do something as I bring a draft before you. From staff's position as the city manager, we're fine with probably 85-90% of the fees. It's traffic that we have a major concern with, and part of that is it's a significant fee. So for an office space that wants to move into town, for every 1,000 square feet of space they want to build, we have to collect $3,500 per 1,000 square feet of traffic impact fees for the county, and put that on top of ours. And so if you got a 10,000 square foot building, that's $35,000. It's a lot of money based upon Newman rents. In addition, there is not one traffic improvement that occurs within 6 miles of Newman that we're paying this money for. Out of those fees for traffic, 53% of those fees go to the North County corridor. And most of you know the North County corridor is north of Modesto, Riverbank, Oakdale. We as a community, and as your city manager, and I know the mayor talks with the other mayors, we support a regional approach. We support what's good for Stanislaus County ultimately is good for Newman. And when I say Stanislaus County, I don't just mean county proper, I mean all the communities as one. But as we are going through our public facility fee process, we are required to establish what's called a nexus, a tie from the amount of money we're collected to the impacts associated with those developments. It'd be very difficult for me to go out and tell a developer who's building a commercial space in our downtown or on our highway that he's got to pay this money to fund a project on the other side of the county, and there's a nexus somewhere in there. I don't know where it's at, but it's somewhere. And it makes it very difficult for us to make that sale. Again, I think it puts us at an economic disadvantage. All the other the library services, county, and all those, we can fully understand those. We'd like to make sure that some of that money does come back to us, though. I think, I don't know if the supervisor knows, but within the last probably 8 years, or at least since I've been here, so that's, 7 years, we've collected over $5 million in impact fees for the county. Directly. Our city has collected over $5 million worth of impact fees that go to the county from our residential development. So, and that's part of their regional approach. We want to help them, but it's starting to get more and more difficult as those fees go up, and it's getting real taxing. And competition is real tough. Not only do we have to compete with other communities in our county, we have to compete with the communities in other counties. Stanislaus County is at an economic disadvantage versus other counties in the state, whether it be Kings, Kern, Tulare, Merced, Fresno, Madera, because we have to, double up on some of this stuff. So it really presents us at an economic disadvantage. So how are we, Newman, supposed to get and attract business and commercial? Because if we don't, guys, we're going to die on the vine. I mean, I got a note here. We just called the county, and we're going through budget process. We called the county today, and everybody recalls the last 2 years what has been our decrease in property values, 18% each year for the last 2 years. Guess what? 18% again this year is what we need to anticipate. 18 on top of 18 on top of 18. That's very painful. So we got to figure out how to get jobs here. We have over 25% unemployment in our community. I mean, we brought the enterprise zone in, and we're trying to do that. We're trying to prepare ourselves for when economic growth is going to occur. It's just not occurring anywhere right now because of the state economy and the national economy. But we need to prepare ourselves. If our fees are too high, it's really going to challenge us. So Jim, you'll probably see myself at your meeting. You'll probably see the county. We're not going to oppose any other thing probably except for that traffic, though. I think it just puts us at an economic disadvantage. And two, I don't know how we can make the nexus. When you had the zones, it made more sense. Your prior public facility fee program had $53 million for Stir Road from the I-5 out to Newman. It's gone. It's not even there. So really, the closest improvement for us would be a stretch on Crow's Landing Road, basically from Highway 33 at Crow's Landing, which is 6 miles from us, up through Main Street. That's the closest improvement to us. Granted, our residents use some of that, put on probably on a small percentage, based upon, and then you got all the other people that use that facility, people that are coming over and going over to. So I just think there's some inequities there, and I'm going to kind of I'm giving you a heads up because we as a community have a lot of
I
respect.
can go over that with county staff. I would say that some of our fees have went down, especially in businesses with drive-throughs, and so that has went down. So not everything has went up,
Right.
and they haven't went up very much. I mean, there was studies done, and where they came up with these fees, there was some reasoning behind it. So some have went up, some have went down.
I guess one point, Jim, I'm just trying to make, and we'll make it better in our letter, is if we develop commercial or an industrial or office in our community, it should actually save wear and tear on the roads. Because now we're providing services here in our community that our residents had to go out of town for before. So for us to pay this regional transportation fee, we really think it's a hardship, and we're not sure that the nexus can be made. So we'll try to be more eloquent and more direct in our letter to you, and try to really clarify the point. We're trying to give you a heads up right now because you do us a favor by coming to our meetings and speaking with us. So you should anticipate probably that letter coming to you, but I'll have to bring it to the council at the March 23rd letter. So it'll only get there a week in advance, but we're going to ask that you at least put off approval of the transportation impact fee until a later date.
Okay, well,
That's
just
what we're going to
knowing
bring
that,
forward to our
I can
council.
go to county staff and we can take a look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Might as well keep on.
I might as well keep
Staff
on,
and
yeah. And
city
then,
manager.
I did bring up the bad news. I was speaking with our finance director, and again, we're working up the budget, and I thought, well, we better call the county and talk to the assessor and see what's going on. And my idea, it was hopeful thinking, maybe a single-digit drop this year, down from the 218s that we got hit with. But they said we should anticipate the same thing we got last year. Another 18. And that's absent compounding. That's still 54%. Absent compounding. So when you compound it, there's a little bit more on top of that. So What does that mean? It means we're probably at this point starting our budget $500,000 in the hole. So we're doing some things. We've been doing some things all this year to try to save some money. I know our new contract that you approved tonight will bring in additional revenues to our community. That's going to help a little bit. I know just through actions by this council for cost recovery and things that we've done over the past year, those are going to add up a little bit here and there. We may lose some because the state's trying to close the loophole that allows us to use the administrative citation process for drivers who are clean drivers who maybe make a mistake, and we can give them an administrative citation instead of a full ticket. They're trying to close that loophole. That's probably some revenue for us. So I don't know where we're at right now, but again, I've been telling you guys for a while, we're going to be very challenged again. So as your staff, we'll try to uncover every stone and see what we can do for you. On the good side, you did have your annual action plan tonight. I want to commend our staff, especially Stephanie, who works really hard on this particular project. Right now, we're #1 in the county for usage of our funds. You have to expend a certain amount of funds every year to kind of keep things moving along. So they give you an allotment and say, well, we need you to expend this much. We've expended 133% of the money that they wanted us to. So that's actually good for the whole consortium, because some cities fall behind and can't even expend that money. How do you not expend money that's free? I mean, give it all to us, we'll spend it all.
Yeah.
Right? How do you not do that? But apparently some cities are pretty good at that. So that's a kudos for our staff. Also, based upon a resolution you recently passed, March 1st, we submitted our grant application for $5 million for an aquatic center, and that was under Proposition 84. Proposition 84 is a multi-area grant program. So the Great Valley Center has contacted us and asked us if we'd like to partner with them on a grant application, as well as StanCog. So we might be partnering on that, and they would administer the grant and do some greenhouse gases and urban greening and a few other things on there as well. This Friday is Furlough Friday, so city offices will be closed on this Friday, March 12th. Excuse me. If you have not done so already, we still need those Form 700s. March by or before March 19th would be a good day for us. We would appreciate that.
Has everybody done those? Complete those?
Michael?
Who you have outstanding?
We won't name names. We have a few still that we have pretty good compliance. I think we have most of them have been
I
submitted.
think I turned mine in.
We'll work with the ones we haven't.
We'll send out an reminder email here pretty quick.
Yeah. So, and then lastly, tonight we have our technology consultant Colin Byrne is in the office, in the audience, and he's going to do a PowerPoint presentation. As you know, our departments have each done one in the past, and today we're going to do technology. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colin.
All right, Colin.
Good evening, Mayor Caden, members of council. Tonight we're going to do our 2009 technology year in review. My name is Colin Byrne. I'm the city's IT consultant. We've been working over the past few years. There we go. To do a couple of things with the city. Starting in 2008, we really focused on fixing fundamental flaws that were present in the city's technology infrastructure and building a solid foundation for which we could grow on. We replaced computers at the police department. We put in a common email system to foster communication between all city staff. And we connected all the city work sites back together so that everyone was working off the same quote-unquote network. In 2009, we built upon that foundation and started leveraging what we had done the previous year. And really starting to look at how we improve our operations in the city based upon the technology we have in place. Looking forward to 2010, we're going to continue that. Now, we've built the foundation, we've put some walls up, now it's time to start putting some polish on what we've invested in. we're looking more at process improvement over the next year, and really just maximizing the value of what we've put out there. And really trying to drive a better use of technology to deliver better customer service, better communication, better service for staff, better access to technology, better just really leveraging and improving how we do our process. There we go. So I'm going to jump a couple slides here. The question really is, what does IT do in the city? Obviously, we support the computers on a day-to-day basis. We install new computers, new printers, new software. We take care of all the city servers and the network that runs all the city work sites. And then we provide broad-based support for whatever technology programs or questions that departments have. And as a city, there's just a lot of different things. There's law enforcement applications, there's things in the public works realm, things at City Hall, lots of different things all need IT support. So really, what have we done? Again, looking at delivering better customer service. The city's website has been improved. The videos are online. A lot of that has to do with the efforts of the city clerk's office to really improve communication. And we're still working on getting some online forms, making it easier for people to fill in the forms. And again, just very simple things we can do to leverage the investments we've made to provide better customer service to the citizens and to our folks inside the house. Excuse me, inside. Looking at what we've done for Parks and Rec this past year, we spent some time working at the teen center, reloading all the computers, getting everything cleaned up and upgraded. And most importantly, in my mind, we put in a new content filtering solution to make sure that we keep the kids protected and safe while they're online and avoid any problems with inappropriate use of the internet. Looking at Public Works, we've started working with the Public Works Director to bring better use of the Scada system to his staff so that wherever they are, they have access to the information they need. This is really something I think over the next probably 12 to 18 months we're really going to start to grow on. Now that we have a foundation, we've got technology inside the buildings, really delivering it out to the trucks and to the workers so that they can do their jobs better and rapidly respond to problems as they occur really is going to be kind of our push. Additionally, we put some new computers out and refreshed computers so they can be used in their places. Ironically, we're not really disposing of computers these days. We're just rebuilding, refreshing, and really driving the maximum life out of the equipment we've bought. And then we've started the process for SEAMS, which is a water reporting software that helps generate the compliance reports that the Public Works Department uses. Fire department. Excuse me. The fire department is a great one. We implemented a Firehouse software. What Firehouse is, it's a tool that's used by the fire department to track their calls for service. Helps them generate their reports, lets them know what they're doing, the training of their staff. What's particularly nice about this one is we were very smart in this process, and it's the same fire software that West Stanislaus uses. So there's a lot of training opportunities, and it's actually supported in part through some resource sharing. So we actually did a very good job on this project. We built their desktop computer, and we've been working to make sure that the new dispatch system and the new fire department system coming through, fire record system coming through the fire warden's office is going to be done properly. Some stuff we've done here at City Hall. Again, our common thread, we put some new computers out, rebuilt the stuff, and then recycled it. And we've started working with the Public Works and the City Administration on providing cameras for the downtown plaza. That's been a major push because that will be a first step in giving the city some options of keeping downtown safe. And obviously working with the police department on that as well. The police department. It's been a busy year. Police department has put in a new records management system. It's called InSync. It has been very beneficial, but it's also presented some challenges and really redefined the role we play with the organization and our responsiveness to their problems. As we move forward, countywide, they're moving towards a new dispatch system. That's a huge project. That's, fingers crossed, sometime this summer we'll be going live. And we've been working again on just maximizing the life cycle on our mobile units, and we did a memory upgrade to try and get another year or two out of them. We've done some great things citywide. We installed a BlackBerry server so that department managers are in constant communication with their email, their calendar. It really helps them stay on top of what's going on. Most importantly for me as the IT guy, it's secure, and if we lose a BlackBerry, we're able to stop the risk of that information being out there. We can kill it or wipe it remotely, which is a very important thing for me. We've done shared calendars. All the city staff has access to shared calendars for city facilities, vacation scheduling, parks. There's subpoenas, court logs. All this stuff is really, again, building upon the investments we've already made and polishing and bringing more value out of those systems. We've put in a program called Go Global, which has allowed our staff to work remotely from home. It allows them to log in, access the law enforcement systems, as well as email, their documents. It's turned out to be a great tool for one of the consultants working for the city, as well as our school resource officer. It kind of bridges the gap between where our network goes and where it doesn't, and it still allows our staff to be productive even when they aren't physically inside the city. We've upgraded the City Hall internet connection, and this has really been beneficial because it has given the folks out at the wastewater treatment plant, the courtyard, the teen center, and the water tower the ability to connect back to City Hall and open up files. And again, what we're really looking at doing is taking and building out on a common infrastructure and leveraging what we've already bought to get the maximum value and really extend those applications, those files, out to all corners of the city, which hasn't really previously been the case. That's it. Again, we've got a plan that we're working on, and every year we just keep moving along. And we're getting to where we want to be. Do you have to answer any questions?
Any questions, Colin?
Yeah, I just had one. You talked about cameras for the downtown plaza area.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I found out about cameras is they don't do any good unless they're quality. What I'm saying is, if you can't see the person, then you're really wasting your time. All you're seeing is a blur. So my concern is they're of a quality that whoever is on the camera, you're going to be able to see them. So
Absolutely. If you can't see the face, it doesn't count.
doesn't mean anything.
We've worked very closely with the police department to identify their needs. And the nice thing is the technology has evolved far enough along where we're able to now do faces. The quality of the cameras is there. We can be further back and I don't want to say hidden, but a little less obvious about where the cameras are and still get the quality to help law enforcement. We've also got the ability now to take, tremendous amounts of data, because with the higher quality picture comes the more storage space required for that video feed. We've got technology now that helps us store and sort and manage that amount of data that we have from those cameras. When we look at something like the downtown plaza, it's not just that there's a camera or a few cameras, it's really covering the areas and being able to see the details necessary to provide a secure environment. And I think in the initial plans we've done, I think we have accomplished that particular goal.
I had one other question, and I'm sure that maybe you're involved. Newman's emergency system. I don't know if you have anything to do with that, but I'm concerned if we had a national disaster, are we prepared, and would your systems provide information to the city that we could use, that sort of thing?
We've started investigating different methods for communicating with citizens, either whether in a disaster or even during normal times. There's two things. One, Chief McGill has started using Facebook, which is for the police department, which has been a great tool. There's also, we've started investigating a thing called Nixle. And what Nixle is Nixle was funded by the Department of Homeland Security, and it's free for municipal agencies, and it sends text messages. It's a free service. We are allowed to send text messages to residents who register with our system. For example, accident on 33, avoid traffic, or power outage will be in place for 6 hours, or whatever those types of events are. There's kind of a problem that we run into where we have so many sources of information coming at people that it just becomes noise. So one of the things we're really looking at is what is the best way of communicating to people, whether it's something like Nixle that sends text messages to phones, whether it's Facebook, whether it's the city website. There's so many different ways to do this that no one has quite got the right mix yet of service to really deliver that particular thing. It used to be you just had an AM radio and you tuned to the emergency station. That's great, but now we've got mobile phones with, whether it's Facebook or a web page, again, something like Nixle. We've started the process to look at these things. We just haven't quite found, I think, the right product for us yet.
Yeah, I know up in the Bay Area when they have like one of the oil refineries has a gas leak or something like that, the citizens are automatically notified, so they know to stay in place and not go outside.
There's also, I believe in that they use a robodialer. I think that's, last time I heard it, those cities used robodialers. And basically what it is the telephone company gives them an export from the 911 system. And it used to work really, really well when everyone had a landline telephone. But now that everyone's got cellular phones, that's gone out the window because you don't get street addresses tied to those numbers anymore. And that's kind of where Nixle came in. It was, okay, well, if we can't get them at their home, we can send that message to their cellular telephone. But again, the nice thing about that robodialer was you didn't have a choice. The city said to the phone company, give us everyone in this particular radius, and we'll call them. But with cellular phones, you have to have people sign up. And again, we've got so many different sources of information coming at people, it just becomes noise. And trying to get people to subscribe to something and get them to utilize it once it's there, that's where something like Facebook, Nixle, whatever the tool, it's just finding the right mix. And that is very challenging, and all municipalities are facing that same challenge.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Colin.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Sir.
just butt in just for a second. Mr. Byrne's done an excellent job for us. It's hard to believe 3 years ago we didn't even have a city server. And the amount of progress we've made in terms of keeping our residents informed. I mean, you can download all of our information on our website now. That's been updated. It's kept updated. You can watch these council meetings on Thursday, on tomorrow. You can watch. We can even watch it before you even watch it on cable. You can watch it online, and that's how much it is. That sometimes we're getting up to 100, 150 watches on a single week. Now those are anomalies, but I think regularly we're probably getting at least more than 2 or 3 dozen on a weekly basis of people watching our council meetings on this. So I think he's done an excellent job. I think we've advanced into the future in terms of where we are technology-wise, and it's helped us become more efficient as employees. We've utilized work programs through the Alliance. People have come in and scanned documents. Now we probably have 15 years worth of documents, resolution, council actions at our disposal at our desk, where 2 years ago you'd have to go pull up an old book with old resolutions in there and just thumb your way through. Now you can keyword search it. And that was something we didn't have in the past, and we've saved a ton of time, and a lot of that is both from Mr. Byrne and Mr. Meyer here, who really lead our technology, so they've done an excellent job on that. So And then just lastly, one thing I forgot, and I was reminded by my Public Works Director. Okay, so March 17th, we're moving forward. We're going out to bid on the Plaza. 45 days or so, 60 days, you're going to come back and we're going to ask you to award that bid. Question is, would you like to have a groundbreaking ceremony? It's an important project. It's been in the books for a decade. I think if you're interested, I know staff can put together something nice.
I think it'd be great, but you know, it'd really be nice, Michael, is to get all the people that have been involved, because, you know,
Well,
it's,
it'll be the council, it'll be the downtown streetscape plaza committee that are the two groups that will really be out there in front of it. We'll try to invite everybody we can, obviously. If we do that, weekday at lunch, is that okay? I mean, I know some of the council members work out of town. If we give you far enough notice,
we'll do it.
if we give you far enough notice, we can get something during a weekday and really
Yes.
make a
think
first
it's
event out of it.
important.
And I'd like to invite our supervisor. He's been instrumental and helped us with our grant application with the Economic Development Bank. So we're going to make sure that, we make sure we get the invite out to him and try not to have it on his scheduled council date. We'll be cognizant of, or supervisor board date, so we'll be cognizant of that as well. So.
Give Jim a gold shovel.
So we'll be moving forward with that then, and then try to get something scheduled prior to mobilization of the contractor. So, thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you, Michael. Staff, Garner?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick notes for you. If you ever drive by, we're starting to see some improvements now at our corporation yard. We've put a canopy over our backhoe that we recently purchased right after I came on board, and our new C&G dump truck that we just received. So they're going to be housed under the canopy, and they've started putting in our material storage bins. They've graded the yard. Some future improvements we're looking at. We're going to be painting the building. The staff is considering whether they want to make their own sign or contract with someone to make a sign for us. So over the next year, you're going to see it evolve even further. They've really taken charge of that, and they're really getting excited. Sometimes they got to pull them back and say, we have other work we have to do as well. So I'm pretty excited about those guys taking that over. I briefly touched on Hill Park, the different phases, and the city manager talked about some improvements that we have. So this project's moving along pretty good. It's coming in phases, and as we get more grant funding along, it's coming along very nicely. We hope by the end of March that we have some nice, at least hydro-seeded. It'll take a little bit for the grass to germinate. We'll start getting that in there. As that comes along, we get the landscaping in there. I'll bring you some pictures at our council meetings and kind of keep you apprised of that. Public Works crew came to me a few weeks back and asked me about potentially a downtown improvement day. And what they're wanting to do is all the pots downtown to have the flowers in them and things, they've kind of gone astray a little bit. So they're wanting to put together a day where as many as Public Works people can volunteer, and we'll get the community involved. We're going to rehab all the pots downtown. I think we have about 30 pots that they're looking at. And so I just kind of wanted to update council that this is kind of moving forward. We have the newspaper involved. They're developing a flyer. We're looking at about April 3rd is the day we're looking at, probably from around 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., about 3 hours. If you're interested, we'll be sending a flyer and emails out to you to keep you updated on that. I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce. They're very excited about it. I'll be speaking to Rotary this week about that as well. The paper Susan Mattos has gone over, and they're talking with the high school, getting them involved, getting 4-H and FFA. We're getting Interact involved. We're going to make contact with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We're trying to make it a big downtown improvement day. And so as soon as we get the flyer out, I'll be sending that out to you and see what we can do. We're going to volunteer our Public Works equipment to come in and help, and once we get it all done, our staff will be putting the backpack blowers on and make sure we get it cleaned up so first thing Monday it looks just as nice as we can get it. I just thought I'd give you an update on that one. And the last thing I had is our Scada Project. Colin touched on it. He's been very instrumental with helping us take the next step with technology to make us better. And we have an RFP, request for proposals out for a Scada system. And what our Scada does is it allows us to monitor. Right now we're currently monitoring our water system. We can turn wells on and off, and we can check the pressures, and the computer runs the system for us. We don't have to go out there. If we have a fire, the computer system senses a low pressure drop and starts kicking the wells on. Well, that was the first phase. The next phase we're doing is we're going to monitor all our sewer lift stations so that we can, if we have an alarm, right now if we have an alarm at our sewer lift station, the only way we know it, a red light comes on out there. Well, if you're at your house, you don't really know that. So they have to check them every day to make sure we're not having a plug pump or anything, so we have any overflows. This Scada project's gonna take it to the next level, just like the water system. We're gonna take that to the computer system and let them watch it and monitor it for us, send us alarms immediately at home if we got a problem with the lift station, if it's getting too high or the pump's not running and it should be. So that's a project, Colin's been very instrumental helping us get that out, so that project will be bringing back to council hopefully, well, probably about 4 weeks from now. Not the next council meeting, but the meeting after that, probably to award that contract. We should have bids here, I think, in the next 2 weeks on that one. So we're trying to do the best we can, and Colin, you've been great for us. I appreciate it. So if there's anything you have for me, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Garner at all? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Garner. Good job. Stephanie, anything? Sergeant Richardson, anything? Are you sure? All right. Okay, then we're going to go to council members. Sorry, Nick, anything? Bob?
Just to follow up on what I asked earlier, don't we have an emergency office someplace that, in case we have emergency in town?
Yeah, we have an emergency operations plan that details all of that information. You actually have a book
Yes, I do.
that has that, and what it does is it details
Maybe some members of
who
the
the
council
who the
don't.
public information
I
officer
do.
is and those types of things. So we might want to check. Probably hasn't been updated since Council Member Davis and Candia on there. I know it's undergoing refinement right now. My understanding is it's nearing completion. So when that, yeah, it's going to be becoming before you probably in the next 30 to 60 days. I would anticipate at that point in time you'll get final copies. And then what that does is it sets out the roles and responsibilities of, who's going to be the public information officer, who's going to be this, who's going to be that, and it assigns a task to everybody. So that way, should we have an event like the floods, we can go to that playbook and adapt it, and then everyone knows what their role is at that particular point in time.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Roberta,
I have
anything?
anything.
Okay. One thing just reminder, the chamber mixer is Tuesday the 16th. They moved it from Wednesday to Tuesday the 16th, and it's at Rabobank at 6 to 8. So everybody's invited to attend if you can. Let's see. I think that's all I have for tonight. So with that, we'll go into closed session, conference with real property negotiator, Government Code Section 54956.8, and public employee personnel annual evaluation, city manager, Government Code 54957. We are adjourned.